If you think like, act like, or are trying to grow like a franchise, then the Franchise Euphoria podcast is for you. Hello and welcome, everybody. Josh Brown here, and I created this podcast for one main goal: to help people who are trying to grow their business through franchising or franchise-like structures. I've been practicing law now as a franchise lawyer for many, many years, and I've seen it done the right way and the wrong way. This podcast is not filled with a bunch of legal mumbo jumbo. Rather, I talk with real people who have been there, have done it, are doing it right now. And I also dive deep into specific topics related to franchising. So if this is of interest to you, you are at the right place. I am back for another episode of Franchise Euphoria. We are back. The team at Franchise Euphoria is back. We've taken a little bit of a hiatus over the last month or so. And if you're a listener, you've probably noticed there hasn't been many episodes released over the last month or so. In part, that's because I became the head of the franchise division for Taft Law Firm. So heading up a franchise division for a law firm of about 640 lawyers and 12 offices and all that good fun stuff is really exciting, but also takes a lot of time. And so I always want to make sure that when we're releasing episodes here, we are releasing first class, first rate episodes. And today is no exception. We've got Pete First, who is BrightStar Care's Senior Vice President of Franchise Development. Pete's got extensive experience in the franchise industry, and he works to expand the BrightStar brand to new untapped markets across the United States. His responsibilities include providing leadership, strategy, and direction to the franchise sales teams, in addition to putting systems in place that improve the overall BrightStar Care franchise sales process. I think you'll find this interview very informative with Pete. BrightStar has been around for about a decade now. They've had some tremendous success. They've got a few hundred locations. And, they started as strictly a non-medical home care franchise model. But what they've recently done is added another component to that essentially adds a senior skilled care component to the non-medical. So now they're doing senior living facilities, which is the skilled care or medical care that goes hand in hand with non-medical care, because as we talk about during this interview, there is a continuum of care in the healthcare space and in the senior care space that in part led to them adding the facilities to their repertoire of franchise opportunities. So again, really enjoyed this interview with Pete. I think it's really informative. And I think that BrightStar appears to be one of those businesses that is trying to grow and grow the right way. So without further ado, I hope you enjoyed this interview with Pete First. Hello, Pete. Welcome to Franchise Euphoria. How you doing?
Great, Josh. Thanks for having me.
Well, happy to have you on. You're part of a franchise group in BrightStar Care that's been around a while, and I look forward to hearing about the different franchise opportunities for BrightStar.
Yeah, we have been around quite a while, and have between 300, around 345 or so locations around the country with BrightStar Care, founded by Shelley almost 10 years ago now. So definitely have some track record out there, and have a lot of.
Has it only been 10 years?
I think it might be longer than that even now. So it's been, because we've got our folks coming up for their renewals. So, she started the company a long time ago in just with the growth and finding care for her grandparents and family members, and have built it from there. But yeah, phenomenal growth over the time period, that's for sure.
And you guys, as I recall, BrightStar started off as just purely non-medical care, right?
Right. And that really has evolved. And that's one of the things that really differentiates us from others that are in this space, because we're able to provide some skilled care as well. And we also work with national accounts, and a lot of that is in the skilled care area as well. So definitely you have taken that from home care and companion care and really elevated it. And one of the reasons that we've done it is we always want to provide the highest standard. And our goal is to be able to provide, mom, dad, and grandmas and grandpas an opportunity to stay home even longer. And that's obviously even more important today with what we were going through, and being able to provide, care at to a higher acuity client and a higher acuity person really allows that to happen.
And so you're senior vice president of franchise development. So you head up all the franchise development for the brand, right?
Yep, all the franchise development across the U.S. And then I also work with our brand BrightStar Senior Living. So we have some senior living communities as well, and we're in the process of launching another one. So a lot of great things happening.
So you busy, Pete? You busy?
It's been great. I mean, if you think about the industry that we're in and what we've lived through with the pandemic over the last year plus, going on 2 years now. I mean, it's changed the way a lot of people are thinking about what they want to do with their lives and how they want to be able to have an opportunity to give back to the community. So we have really seen interest in our brand, particularly because we do have, we've got 5 revenue streams that our franchisees can work with. So we've got some variety there and some opportunities that separate us. But really, it's what we do impacts lives every single day. And if you think about people that have been in the corporate world for a number of years, the whole dynamic of being in the office has changed. And as you look at so many people that have been impacted by COVID-19, to have an opportunity to jump into a franchise opportunity like this and others that are in our space, where you can make a difference in people's lives every single day. And that's something that's really special and something that we really thrive on.
So have you been with the brand throughout its existence, or what's your background?
So I've been with the company about 3 years, but I've been in franchising since I got out of college.
Really?
Yeah, it's the only thing I know. So I've been in franchise development for all types of different types of concepts, from almost like the janitorial side on up. But I spent the 14 years prior to coming and joining BrightStar. I was with Winmar Corporation, which is a multi-brand franchisor in the retail space. So had some tremendous growth with those brands, and that was on the retail side. And I'd always been aware of Shelly's son through her time with the IFA, and just with watching BrightStar, and had the opportunity to join on. So it worked out really well.
You obviously have a lot of experience in the franchise, arena. I like to hear that. The healthcare space it's always been of interest to me, and it's of particular interest now because we just see it. It's such a fast growing sector in franchising. I think restaurants are always going to be the top growing just because there's so many of them. But the healthcare, senior care space is just ripe with all sorts of franchise systems. And they're also interesting to me because they cross over between non-medical and medical. And one of the things with BrightStar that's been interesting is, and I think interesting in a good way, is, as I said earlier, you guys started as non-medical, meaning, mostly you're doing in-home care where you're overseeing, and it's the companion type care, but you're not injecting people with any kind of, needles or shots or doing any of the medical type treatments, right? At the start.
That was at the start, correct? Yep.
What was the decision? When was this decision? Kind of what went into it to decide to cross over to now do the skilled side, which is often what is called, and for the audience who doesn't know, if we say skilled, we're really talking about the medical side. So like, the skilled nursing and the medical side versus the non-medical side. Talk about that a little bit, because I think in the healthcare franchise space, there can be confusion around that, but I think it's really important.
One of the reasons that we did that is early on, the vision of the company that Shelly had was to always provide the highest standard of care at the maximum level that we could within the home. So, one of the things that we have we're really proud of is our Joint Commission accreditation. So we've had this same type of accreditation that the Mayo Clinic and Cleveland clinics have for home care, and we're the only one really that's had it since 2013. We've had been since they started the award. We've earned that recognition every time, and so what that does, it just sets the stage for us to be able to provide that additional layer of care within the home. And as you think about today, that was pretty visionary to be thinking about it that way back in 2013 when this award started to come out and this accreditation started to come out. Because as you hear things today, there's a lot of talk about hospital at home. more and more people are, hospitals are discharging faster. And for families that want to remain at home versus going into assisted living or into a facility or a community, this provides them the ability to stay at home. So that there was a demand there that we were positioned to meet a number of years earlier, and have just since continued to build that part of our business. So, right now it's probably 35 or so % of our overall business, but we expect that just to continue to grow.
35% being the skilled nursing side.
Right. And and I'd have to, check back into our FTD to be exact, but yeah, that's an area that continues to build, and part of, national accounts is another area that there's quite a bit of skilled business there as well. One of the things that we've been able to be fortunate to be a part of is because of our accreditation and because of our footprint across the country. We were able to participate and provide the nurses for the Johnson & Johnson vaccine and for others during the trials. So that just allowed us to, it shows the respect and the level of confidence that companies have when they're working with BrightStar and our BrightStar Care franchisees.
So they were able to give those in the home then for folks.
They'd go to the clinics and go to the facilities that were providing the vaccinations.
Okay.
And we're able to be a part of it that way. Yep. Yeah.
Well, part of it is too, and I've been working pretty extensively in the healthcare and senior care space. And part of it is that there's really a continuum of care with seniors or in the healthcare space. In other words, there are times when non-medical care, companion care is needed. And then there's times when skilled care is needed. And there's that continuum that kind of goes back and forth. And I think that it seems to me that was probably one of the things that went into BrightStar's decision to not just do non-medical, and also tie into the skilled, because we know when you're dealing with seniors, when you're dealing with the elderly population, there is that scale where sometimes they have more significant needs that fall into the skilled side. And of course, I think it's so important and so significant to your model are the caregivers, and the fact that the caregivers, who are these people who are trusted by the seniors in their homes, can be in a position to do what they would deem unskilled, the non-medical, as well as the medical type services. I mean, is that a fair assessment of it?
Yeah, and the caregivers are obviously we kind of think about our business as we are almost running two different businesses. We're running a business to provide care for the families and to develop the agency and to continue to build that. But our most successful franchisees really work directly with their caregivers because it's such a competitive market that we're in. Extremely high demand. That keeping your caregiver teams happy and relying on being able to rely on them and providing them with the schedules that they want and really treating them very, very well because they are like gold for your organization has made such a big difference with franchisees that understand that and really want to continue to nurture that relationship and to build and allow them to grow within the organization as their skill level improves as well.
And the senior living centers, I mean, these are actual senior centers where people are going to live. So this is outside the home. That's one component, right? That BrightStar has probably pretty recently started doing, right?
Yeah. So the first location was in Madison. So we've got two locations in the Madison area, one in Madison, Wisconsin, one in Waunakee, which is just north of the Madison market. And then we have a location in Fort Wayne, Indiana. And then we opened up a location in Mason, Ohio, and that opened up right in the middle of the pandemic. So lots of challenges with that, but those locations are doing very well. And that was exactly the reason that we developed those and that Shelley wanted to create BrightStar Senior Living was because there's going to be a time when mom or dad or grandma or grandpa just can't stay home any longer and they need to take that next step and have more support, in a community type setting. And so we developed, so BrightStar Senior Living was developed for that purpose, where you've got a family that's comfortable with BrightStar Care. They understand the higher standard that we've been providing there. And this is the next step in that continuum of care to be able to have a community for them to go to. And those communities, they're smaller. They're anywhere from 35 to 42 units, 41, 42 units. So they're not these big.
These aren't the mega centers, right?
Exactly. We want it to have that kind of Pottery Barn feel. We want it to feel really homey for the for the residents and for their families. And we've got the staffing ratio, which is, we're like 6-1 in memory care and 8-1 in assisted living, which is unheard of as far as the ratios go for providing care in an assisted living type setting. So very hands-on, and the all of our staff knows the families and the parents, and it's just it's a really great it's a great opportunity for those where this is the next step in their journey.
Well, I think that's really smart that you guys did that. I'm curious from the business side of it, when you've got BrightStar franchisees, the franchisees that are doing the in-home care, sprinkled throughout lots of different territories. And now with the BrightStar senior facilities, how does that work from the franchise model perspective? In other words, is it simply that continuum where, you can have, you got BrightStar franchisees doing the home care in the same territories and areas in which you're going to be developing the BrightStar senior cares? Or are these the same franchisees?
Exactly. These are the same franchisees. So it's that was part of the goal with developing this, was to work with our existing franchisees who wanted an opportunity to expand their franchise portfolio and then also their type of business. Because if you think about BrightStar Senior Living, now you've got a whole real estate component, and you've got bricks and mortar, and you've got it's just another extension of it's extensions of the care that they're providing in the home. So it allows the families to take that next step. But then for the franchisee, now they've got other opportunities that come via an investment like that. So it's a new BrightStar Senior Living community today is going to be in that $8 to $10 million investment range. So it's a significant investment. From an outside potential franchisee perspective, and we're seeing a lot of interest from folks that are in hospitality, they're in the hotel business, or maybe they're in multifamily housing, they're developers. We are seeing interest in coming from those types of people with those types of backgrounds who are looking to diversify, because as we know, the senior living world, whether it's at home and in-home senior care through the agencies or communities themselves, this growth pattern isn't changing. So we've got a number of years ahead of us where the demographic continues to age, and they're aging right into the area where we're going to have potential clients for a number of years ahead.
On the senior centers, do the franchisees own the real estate, or is that something where the franchisor is owning it and then leasing it back to the franchisees?
No, we work with a developer, and so they will have the opportunity in a couple of locations. I think they already own the building, one for sure. The other one's with the developer, and they have a buyout process for that. So we tried to make it as easy with an investment like that. We tried to make it as easy financially for the franchisee. So bringing in a developer helped offset some of those front end costs and some of that initial investment. And then they have a window of time over the course of a few years where they can buy that property out. So it's a win-win for the developer and for the franchisee as well to be able to acquire the real estate.
So you have to wear multiple hats, Pete. You gotta, you focus on sort of the one-off. You got the one franchise model, which is not really. Well, I guess I should ask: is it brick and mortar? Like, is the home care? Do the home care franchisees have an actual location, or is it they have wrapped vehicles because they're going to the homes?
No, they definitely have a location. So they've got an office. They utilize their office for a number of reasons, or a number of purposes. One is on the marketing side, to establish an address, and we base our territories on zip code. So that helps with their pay-per-click advertising, all the digital and social advertising that we do. So they do that, and then it's a great area for recruiting, and then to provide training for their staff. So we always want to have an office location within each territory for just that, especially with recruiting. It's really important speed is everything with recruiting today. And so a lot of things are being enhanced digitally. We're in the process of updating our online application and just finding different ways to tackle that recruiting challenge that's out there and provide our franchisees with more tools. But they do have an office, and the roles within the office have changed a little bit. So we always had a had a dedicated salesperson that would be out in the market meeting with referral sources and going into hospitals and being face to face with a lot of people. But that certainly changed when we couldn't get in. So the role of the outside salesperson became a different role, and it was more of a revenue generating role where it could be part social, part social media, part inside sales, part recruiting. So it's kind of a combination of things that we're really adapting to. And I think that's something in healthcare in general. It changes so often, and forces like this that have happened over the last year plus have those companies that can pivot and adjust and are open to change are the ones that really thrive, and that's what we've been able to do and work with our franchisees in that manner.
Yeah, I mean, in this industry, so much of it, especially on both on non-medical and on the skilled side, is dependent on home healthcare providers, the caregivers, the people who are providing that support. I'm curious, what are some of the things that BrightStar does to differentiate itself from its competition out there in the marketplace?
So when it comes to attracting caregivers, or just in general, or
in general, because I'm curious in attracting caregivers, it probably has something to do with pay, but also in addition to that, I'm just curious if there's other differentiators. But then in general, beyond that, like if I'm a franchisee or prospective franchisee and I'm coming into this system, I know that I have got a key to success is going to be to have good caregivers, because those are the people who are providing the services, and the patients or the clients that are being serviced. At the end of the day, if they get connected with their caregiver or the person providing the skilled care, that's who they're going to stick with if they're happy. So you have to, in this model, keep those people happy. And I think that that's probably an ongoing challenge and opportunity. I know it is for a lot of people in this space. I'd be curious on that specific area. But then in addition to it, on the technology side, on the business side, what are some of the things that BrightStar does to help give an advantage to its franchisees?
Well, let's talk about technology first. So we do have our own internal technology system that we built, support, and manage. So we have that capability built in internally, and that was really important when COVID hit, because we were able to make adjustments to our online application for the caregivers when they're going to the home. Everything's done on their phone, basically. So they were able to do the temperature checks and the attestation questions that you had to answer. We were able to integrate that into our system immediately, where others, it took a month or so. There was just a lag time. So being able to make those types of adjustments very quickly when it comes to technology, that gives us an advantage, and our franchisees an advantage there, because it is an in-house system that we're working with. It also allows us to make some changes. So we are continuing to make modifications to the system as the skilled business starts to grow. We've talked quite a bit about that today. But as that business continues, making that part of the day-to-day and the operation of that particular segment, making that just even easier for the franchisee via the technology that we have.
It sounds like you are intentionally on the senior living side also saying small and maybe higher end, because you're trying to attract by way of having a lower patient to caregiver number. So in other words, a 6-to-1 kind of ratio, as well as not having the big giant facility, but something that's a little bit smaller, manageable, but high quality.
Definitely high quality, and we're definitely in the top third or top quarter when it comes to the rent and rates that we charge for. But there's reasons for that. I mean, if you're in another community down the street and your caregiver ratio is 20-to-1, and you can come into our memory care community and be at 6-to-1, it's just such a different level of attention and level of and quality of life that you'll have by having that sort of having ratios like that, and caregivers like that will be providing a lot of detailed attention, and that's just great for the families. It's a peace of mind where the kids they know mom and dad are safe and they're receiving fantastic care, and it gives them quite a bit of peace of mind as well when they're at home and they know that mom or dad is in good hands.
So what type of franchisees are you looking for? Who are you looking for to come in and take a look? And are you, it sounds like you're looking, there's two different opportunities here. So what's in your role, how are you approaching this? Or are you just being, balanced enough to be able to approach it from either side in terms of if somebody's just looking to come on and deal and do the non-medical versus going into the senior living? But who are the type of people that in BrightStar's ideal world, they're looking for to come in and be franchisees?
Sure. So we really like folks that have had experience managing teams and have some of that, have some managerial type background, because that's what we're doing every day. We're managing not only the teams in our offices, but we're managing the caregivers and people that are comfortable with that. We are not looking for somebody that has a healthcare background necessarily. It's not required. It's more about the business aspect of it and the business side of this. Because if you think about your agency, our average, our system-wide average is over $2 million in sales. So these become large businesses with a number of employees. So that management style is great. It's healthcare, so we want somebody that is comfortable with change management, because this industry changes all the time, and those that can adapt and navigate through change, they have tremendous success with this. And then also those that are just looking for opportunities in the market as well, and finding ways to build that. This isn't an easy business. I mean, this is it's a challenging business. It's in a very competitive industry. We have a lot of competition. Lots of folks that think it's a little easier to open it up than it is, and we want those folks that have had some experience with that and really have some grit. I mean, they're going to go in and they have the confidence and the business acumen where they know the opportunity that's in front of them. I mean, the senior market continues to grow every single day. They know what the opportunity is, and if they work well and are comfortable working within the franchise system and being able to take advantage of that and participate in all of the things that we have to offer, they're going to set themselves up for a real good run with this business.
Well, if you want to learn more about BrightStar Care, just go to brightstarfranchising.com. That's brightstarfranchising.com. Thank you, Pete, for coming on and sharing about the system and the model. I think last time I had looked at it, you guys had just the one model. So I think it's exciting to see how you guys are expanding into the senior living model and addressing that whole continuum of care that we talked about a little bit, because as you said, it's a whole community of people, and the community is growing each and every day, and it's going to continue to grow through your lifetime and my lifetime. It's not going to stop.
Yeah.
So, do you want to leave us with anything? I mean, what do you think about over the next couple of years? Do you think these trends are going to continue? I mean, I'm seeing a whole lot of healthcare opportunities come about very quickly. Some good, some bad. But what do you see in terms of the trends with the senior communities going forward?
Well, I think those will continue. There's going to be some opportunities in probably a different format of the assisted living footprint, where we're working on some things that maybe even at a smaller level that we're getting ready to launch to the public, but we're working with our existing franchisees on that now. So there's some things internally that we have that are really exciting. The industry itself, like I said, it just continues to grow, and when you have such a dynamic leader as we have with Shelley and the vision that she has for the company, we're the only company left now in the franchising space that hasn't sold to private equity, and that's a decision that is very firm with Shelley and what the plans are for the company in the future. And what that allows us to do is make decisions that are more long term. So if somebody's looking at us and looking at a competitor, you also have to look at the DNA of the founder and of who's driving the business, because where we're positioned today, we're making investments that will help our franchisees years down the road, and it's a very long-term plan, and that just provides additional stability. So happy to talk with anybody that has some interest in that.
Well, again, brightstarfranchising.com, brightstarfranchising.com. Thank you, Pete. This has been very, very insightful, and I wish you and BrightStar Care continued success in the future.
Thank you very much, Josh. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much for tuning into another episode of Franchise Euphoria. If you enjoyed it, please head over to Apple Podcasts and leave a rating and review. It really helps to get this show out to more and more people. Also, if you have any questions, have ideas for guests or topics, please email me, josh@indyfranchiselaw.com. That's Josh at franchiselaw.com. And finally, please note that this podcast is for entertainment and educational purposes and is not in any way, shape, or form meant to be any kind of legal advice. If you're seeking legal advice, please contact a lawyer. Have a great one. Happy franchising.